Hi guys, welcome to the first ever episode of the Make It Easy podcast. My name is Shalomeni and I'll be your host. Oh, it feels so good to finally say that out loud. I've been practicing that line for the longest time in my head, but finally. So this is the Make It Easy podcast. First of all, I'd like to thank my friends for constantly pushing me and keeping me accountable, ever since I said I want to start a podcast. Thank you for the constant reminder that I was supposed to I was supposed to drop this podcast a few weeks ago. But here it is, finally here it is. And I really appreciate each and every one of you. So I'm sure most of you are wondering why I decide to call a podcast Make It Easy, or why I even decide to start a podcast. What do you want to tell us? So the whole idea is to just have conversations that challenge our way of thinking and make us look at life from a more positive angle and just live a more fulfilling and happy life. Make life easier for that matter. Yeah, because I have realized that most people, young people especially, have given up on their dreams, goals, simply because they have tried different ways to get to whatever they want to do, but then they all seem to fail. People just give up. I have personally, given up on very many things that I've been pursuing, simply because the first 2 or 3 tries did not go as I planned. But I've also realized that there's always an easier way to do something. There's always a way out of a situation. There's always a way to do something. Whether we know it or not, there's always a way out. So we'll just be having conversations that make us look at life more positively and embrace different challenges that come with life, and just find a way to live through them. Yeah, so that's basically it. Of course, I'm not doing it from a point of perfection. I'm also a student of this school called life, and I'd really appreciate your feedback. And I'm looking forward to engaging with you and just getting to hear your different learnings and experiences. So yeah, that's just it. That's just an overview of what to expect throughout the episodes, and I'm so happy you're here. This first episode, as I was thinking about what should I start this podcast with, what's the best thing to start talking about, and then after really scratching my head and thinking and researching and doing all those things that I had to do, I decided to speak about one very important aspect of life that every human being, everything with breath goes through. That is growth. Growth is such an important aspect of a person's life. Growth is not an option. First of all, you don't wake up one day, tell yourself like, I am done growing. This is it. No more growing. I'm not just talking about physical growth. I'm also talking about mental growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth. We are always growing. Growth is a never-ending process. You're either growing up or growing old. I mean, there's no in between. You're always growing. And one of the ways you can make your growth journey easier is by being prepared for it. Think of a mother who has given birth to a baby. And then, of course, this baby needs new clothes. So, of course, the parents will have bought a set of clothes for the baby. But then 4 or 5 months down the line, this baby has grown, and this baby can no longer fit in these clothes that they were bought for. So what do the parents do? They go back to the shop and buy another set of clothes. And then at that time, the clothes are so fitting and they're so good. They're suiting the baby so well. But then 5-6 months later, the baby has grown, and these clothes no longer fit the baby. The parents go back to the shop. Most likely, this third time, they won't go back to the same shop that they have been going to for the last 2 times, because probably that shop doesn't have clothes for bigger babies now. So the parents go to a different shop and get different clothes. And not to mean that these other clothes that the baby was wearing are either torn or bad. It's just that the baby can no longer wear them. It doesn't suit the baby anymore. Now, when you bring it to context, that is us human beings in our growth journey. Our past growth is overshadowed by our present growth. You can imagine if these parents thought to themselves, or they just said, I mean, we've been buying clothes for this baby, we're no longer going to buy clothes. These clothes ndo atavaa mpaka afike, I don't know how many years. But then the awareness of those parents that, this baby is growing, and we need to buy different clothes. That's just us human beings. When we are in our growth journey, we need to be prepared for it. We need to realize what is needed of us in that particular stage of our growth. If these parents were arrogant and they said, no clothes, of course, I don't think there's a parent like that. Of course, I mean, this baby will be very inconvenienced. So even for you in your growth journey, you need to realize which stage you're in your growth journey, and realize that your past growth is overshadowed by your present growth. Growth has different dynamics, and you need to be prepared for all of this. And as I was thinking about the creatures that really, 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 really embody growth, of course, that creature is a butterfly. I don't think there's any other creature. If there is, make sure you tell me up in the comments. But as I was thinking about a butterfly, there is such a big, beautiful butterfly that all of us admire. I mean, it really goes through a process before it becomes this butterfly. It starts from the egg, the caterpillar, the pupa, and then the full-grown butterfly. So today we'll be dissecting the life of a butterfly. I promise this is not a biology class, but they are really, really, really good and very insightful lessons that you can learn from the growth life of a butterfly. So a butterfly starts from the first stage, which is the egg stage. And at this stage, when the butterfly is still an egg, when different insects which go through the four stages are put in a line, and there's a grasshopper egg, butterfly egg, and many other eggs, a chicken egg. When they're all put in a straight line, if you're not really an expert, you won't really tell that this particular egg is a butterfly egg, because I mean, it's not like the shell is so colorful and just very appealing to that. You cannot really tell, and I'm sure okay, I'm not really sure, this is just my imagination being wild. A butterfly egg, is just there trying to, these other eggs it's trying to explain to these other eggs that, what, I'm going to be a butterfly, I'm going to be such a big, beautiful butterfly that people are going to admire me. These other eggs are looking at this butterfly egg like, what are you saying? Can you look at yourself? You just look like us. But this butterfly is like, no, doesn't matter. I'll become a very big, beautiful butterfly. Anyway, leave that aside. My point is, at this first stage of growth, we are not really recognizable. Our gifts are not appealing to the eye. Our talents are not really, people are not really seeing people are not really seeing our worth, or they're not really understanding us. It's so hard. I can imagine the butterfly. It's trying to tell this other grasshopper egg, grasshoppers and all the other eggs. Suddenly I have decided I have forgotten all the insects, and trust me, I had really researched all insects before I come here to do this episode. But anyway, this is to tell you, in your first stage of growth, people will not appreciate you. People will not really see your value. People will not really see what it is you have to offer. And it is such a devastating stage, knowing that you want to do something, or knowing that you will achieve something, but having no one to support you, having your mother or your friends or whoever, no one is really seeing the value that you bring. No one is really seeing the ambition that you have. It's such a devastating moment. But then one particular, or one very amazing thing that the butterfly does in this first stage, I don't know whether to call it a butterfly or an egg, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. So one very amazing thing that the butterfly does in this first stage is that it breaks out of the shell by itself. And sometimes we feel that we really need someone to get us out of the situations where, just to constantly push us. But sometimes you really need to just push yourself, just push yourself, because there's no one who's coming to save you. There's a quote I read that when an egg breaks from outside, life dies, but when an egg breaks from inside, life begins. And that's really self-explained, because think of an egg, an egg that has a chick, and you feel like, you know what, I'm going to help this chick become a big chicken faster, so I'm going to help this chick come out of the shell. I'm going to break the shell, and trust me, you'll be doing more harm to the chick than good, because this chick I don't think it will even survive. But then if the chick fights and fights and fights and fights and fights and breaks itself out of the shell, it is going to survive. That is the same thing for us in our first stage. It is all dependent on us. No one is going to save you, and even if they save you, you'll still be missing something. It depends on you to just fight through. It doesn't matter who sees or who doesn't appreciate your talent or your gifts. You just have to fight through it, and break out of the shell. Come out of the shell, by yourself, as hard as it is. Just do whatever you need to do. Is it staying around people who are in the same field that you want to venture in, or just reading books, or just going to places where you're getting the information that you feel you need for your career, or anything. Whatever it takes, you have to go through it. You have to toil. You have to really work for it, and you will get to the second stage, which is now the caterpillar stage. And for this stage, those who have seen a caterpillar, that it is not a very pleasing thing to look at. It is very it's not a good thing to look at. It's not a good thing. It's not pleasing to the eye. And at this stage now, people start getting a hint. Of what you want to do. When you look at a caterpillar, it's very ugly. But then you sort of have an idea. This can probably be a grasshopper or different. All of a sudden I have forgotten all the insects that exist, and I had really researched. I promise I had really researched on insects a lot. But at this second stage, people cannot really put a finger and say this person is working to become so and so. But then at this stage, it doesn't change the fact that you're not pleasing to the eye. You're not beautiful, and I don't mean beautiful the physical beauty. I mean your talents and gifts, and they're not really appreciated. They don't really look good. They're not pleasing to the eye. People don't really appreciate you. And at this stage, this is like the first stage. It's also a very, very devastating stage, to have people not support you, or to have people look down upon you simply because they don't see what you want to do or what you want to achieve from a point of view. But then one amazing thing, this butterfly, it has very, very, very good lessons, and I told you so. But this caterpillar now, it does one very amazing thing. It eats the shell that it had broken in the first stage. I don't know how mind-blowing this is. Very easily, this caterpillar could have decided that, you know what, I am going to carry this shell on my back. I will not have people discriminate me. I will not have people look down upon me. I will carry it on my back, that people will see kwenye nimetoka, that people will realize that this I didn't start here from this stage. I started from the first stage, which is the egg stage, and I broke the shell. So people really need to congratulate me. And that is us in the second stage, in our second stage of growth. That we feel so happy that we have conquered the first stage. You have broken out of the shell, and people are not really appreciating you in the second stage. And so you want to prove a point. You want to carry around that. You want to carry around that shell, and tell people, you know what, I did this and this. Why are you not appreciating me? But what this caterpillar eats the shell and forgets about it, because it realizes that in this second stage it does not call for shell breaking. This second stage calls for shedding off of the skin. So whatever techniques I use in the first stage do not apply this second stage. And don't get me wrong, this is not to mean that you should not congratulate yourself, or you should not, I mean, patia mwili shukrani. Yeah, that's how it said. Patia mwili shukrani. Appreciate yourself, congratulate yourself, but then realize that in this second stage you will not use whatever techniques or whatever tactics you used in the first stage. This second stage calls for different type of effort, and you have to be there for it. So the second stage should not be a stage for you to just carry the pride along and just feel like, what, I can do this. It doesn't matter. You could have broken the shell in the first stage, but then in this second stage, because you're not prepared, you'll not be able to shed off your skin. So just let go of whatever achievements, whatever things you'll have done in your first stage, and focus on the second stage, which calls for shedding of the skin. Now be present in that stage and do what it actually requires you to do. And then now you get to the third stage, which is the pupa stage. Now at this stage, everything starts making sense. You start to understand why you had to go through the first stage, the second stage. Everything now starts making sense, and people can now start seeing that this person didn't come to play. This person was actually serious. This person, when they said they'll be the best entrepreneur of our time, or the best speaker, or the best the best musician, this person did not come to play. And one thing about people is people see, and people don't forget. People see. People know what you're doing. People know the things that you have been doing, and they're actually aware. This person came from stage A, from stage B. They know. So people at this point, they start to see, this person was serious, because now the fruits start to be seen. But then at this point, it's not really that clear. It is of course it is clearer than the first and second stage. When a butterfly is in the third stage, the pupa stage, it's beautiful, unlike the first and second, but it has not really manifested its whole beauty. So that's just you. You this stage is a really fulfilling one. People, it's one thing knowing something and knowing that you can do something, but it's a whole different and good thing when people can actually see and people can actually appreciate your gift. That is very fulfilling. Having people appreciating your gifts, that's one of the most fulfilling feelings. So at this point, you are really fulfilled. You start understanding and realizing that, hey, anyway, it was me going through the first stage and the second stage. That was really something that was really, I really had to go through that stage. And so after the third stage, which is the pupa stage, you now go to the fourth stage, which is the adult stage, the adult butterfly stage. And this is the best. This is the best stage, of course, because now you have manifested all your glory. Everything is now seen. You don't have to explain yourself. One of the difference between the third and the third stage, which is the pupa, and the fourth stage, the adult stage, is because at this third stage, people can see what you do, and people can acknowledge your talents, but you still have to do some talking. You still have to explain. I'm not trying to do this and this, but I'm doing this and this. Like, you just have to explain yourself verbally. But then in the fourth stage, you have no explanations to do. You've seen a butterfly? Of course, everyone has seen a butterfly. And I can be looking at you, but then a butterfly just comes and flies around. And for some reason, I'll just change looking at what I was looking at. Look at the butterfly, because it's so beautiful. It's unapologetically beautiful. And one funny thing, or one interesting thing about the butterfly is that first of all, there are people who don't love butterflies. There are people. Why don't you? Unakosa kupenda je butterfly? And there are people who don't. Absolutely, they don't. They hate butterflies. They just hate butterflies for their own reasons. why hate a butterfly? But then that is just to tell you that even you in your fourth stage, where you feel like you have reached your maximum, you have reached your peak, like this is it for you. Everything, if all your stars are all your stars are aligned, and you feel like it's such a good place to be. There are people who will not love you, the people who will not appreciate you, the people who will still look down upon you and will not really understand you. You can imagine someone hitting a butterfly, like why? I mean, a butterfly is just it's one of the beautiful creatures there is, very colorful. But then someone with their own reasons, they just don't love a butterfly. So even for you in your first stage, do not be surprised, or do not feel bad when people don't appreciate you, when people don't love you, because I mean, it has to be there. I mean, you now start realizing that whatever you went through in your second stage, in the second stage, no one really loved you because you're not appealing to the eye. Your talent was not really, people didn't really understand you. Now you start to realize that this thick skin that you were getting in the previous stages will really help you, because in this fourth stage, you will not feel bothered by these people who will not really appreciate, people who will, they always have something negative to say about you. So that will not really be a shock to you, because I mean, you know your worth, and you know whatever it is, whatever you are really in, you are really confident in whatever you are doing and whatever you bring to the table. So nothing will really put you off. And in conclusion, I feel like I'm winding up on an essay. But in a nutshell, what the whole idea behind this episode is just to tell you that we all have different stages that we need to go through in life. And these stages don't take the same time, for different people. For some, it might take 10 years, 5 years, weeks. It doesn't matter, but we all have to go through it. We are all in this race. Some will use the road, others will use the air, others will use the sea, but we all have one destination. So don't compare your growth journey with anyone else's. Just know that yours is a unique one, and just live in the moment and get to learn what it is that you need to learn in that particular stage, and know what technique you need to use in your stage. Understand which stage you're in. Are you in the first stage where you need to break the shell? Are you in the second stage? You really need to understand the stage that you're in. And another thing, do not compare your growth journey with another person's journey. No, because we all have different journeys set out by God for us. So don't compare your journey with someone else's. You just live your own journey. Know that it is unique to you, and just understand which stage you're in and know what is expected of you. So that was it for today. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, comment, and I'll see you next week. Bye.